friends, and welcome to Bible Time with Pastor Zach. My name is Zach Landis. I'm the senior pastor at the First United Methodist Church in Howe, Texas, and I'm so glad that you have joined us for this time as we spend time in the Bible. If you're new here, thank you for joining us. I hope that you find this time as a meaningful time in the Bible, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. And if you do, we have a lot of other episodes that you can look back on and also watch. And also, if you're a regular, you've been here all along this journey, welcome back. Glad that you are here. But Bible time is a time where we have obviously been spending some time in the Bible. And right now, what we are doing is we're reading our way through the Gospel of Matthew. And we're going one chapter at a time. So at this point in our journey, we are in the 15th chapter of Matthew. And so as this chapter begins, Jesus is being confronted by a group of Pharisees and scribes for not following the laws of the elders and the rules of the elders. And so this is the first passage that we're going to read today. This is Matthew 15 verses 1 through 11. And I'm going to be reading through the CEB, Common English Bible version, the translation of the Bible. That's also what's going to come over the screen here in a moment. So if you do not have your own Bible opened up and ready to study, the words will come over on the screen, just so you know. But here is Matthew chapter 15, verses 1 through 11. Then the Pharisees and legal experts came to Jesus from Jerusalem and said, "Why are your disciples breaking the elders' rules handed down to us? They don't ritually purify their hands by washing before they eat." Jesus replied, "Why do you think the command of God by keeping the rules? Why do you break the command of God by keeping the rules handed down to you? For God said, 'Honor your father and your mother,' and the person who speaks against father or mother will certainly be put to death. But you say, if you tell your father or mother, everything I'm expected to contribute to you, I'm giving to God as a gift, then you don't have to honor your father. So you do away with God's law for the sake of the rules you have been handed down to, or that have been handed down to you. Hypocrites! Isaiah really knew what he was talking about when he prophesied about you. This people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far away from me. Their worship of me is empty, since they teach instructions that are human rules." Jesus called the crowd near and said to them, "Listen and understand. It is not what goes into the mouth that contaminates a person in God's sight. It's what comes out of the mouth that contaminates the person." So, as I said, Jesus was being confronted by the Pharisees and the legal experts that are also kind of known as the scribes. They're the people who kind of transcribed the laws, made copies, but also taught it in the synagogues and other places of worship. And the Pharisees considered themselves the custodians of the law, the defenders of the law, and also kind of the police, the people who enforced the law or called people out of it when they were breaking it. So these people have been hearing about Jesus, know where he's out talking, and they come all the way from Jerusalem up to Galilee, and they're kind of confronting Jesus about why Jesus and his disciples are not following the kind of ritual purity laws, these ritual cleansing laws that are not from God, but are from the interpretation of the law. This was a set of beliefs. This tradition of the elders consisted of interpretations and different applications of the law of Moses, that had been interpreted through different rabbis and different teachers. And actually they said that this tradition of the elders actually sought to build a wall around, or a fence around the law. It's kind of actually how they described it. These different rules that were hundreds of years in the making, about different things you could do, different applications of the law, different interpretations of the law. And so this tradition was circulated kind of in an oral form at that time. It wasn't written down at that time, but it was kind of an oral thing that everybody did. Everybody heard and probably listened to at one point. But it wasn't the actual law, like the law of Moses. And so this is the law that they are calling Jesus and his disciples out on breaking or not following. And first, before you think that this isn't because of germs or things that we do, we wash our hands regularly because we know about germs, we know about bacteria, and we wash them off, we clean them. They didn't know about those back then, but this was kind of a ritual thing, that it was a custom that they would go through as part of a ritual about being clean, from being unclean and being made clean. And it wasn't an actual commandment, and it wasn't about just actual real cleanliness from germs. And so Jesus, when he's confronted by the Pharisees and the scribes, he addresses the whole crowd. And then he tells them about what really makes somebody unclean in the eyes of God, or what really defiles a person. And so when they thought about that it was about what you put in that defiles you, it's not that. Jesus actually, it's the opposite. It's what comes out of your mouth, not what goes in, that actually defiles you in the sight of God. Because what comes out of your mouth, what you say and what you do, is what's in your heart. And that's what really God cares about. It's not about if you eat unclean food or clean food. And so that's kind of what Jesus is addressing here. And I actually preached on this a few weeks ago. So if you want to go back and watch that sermon in our other YouTube playlist on the worship, you can. And I go a lot more in depth on that. But the second passage we're going to read is about the Canaanite woman. This is verses 21 through 28. And so this is where a Canaanite woman comes up to Jesus. And so this is 21 through 28. From there, Jesus went to the regions of Tyre and Sidon, and a Canaanite woman from those territories came out and shouted, "Show me mercy, Son of David. My daughter is suffering terribly from demon possession." But he didn't respond to her at all. His disciples came and urged him, "Send her away. She keeps shouting after us." Jesus replied, "I've been sent only to the lost sheep, the people of Israel." But she knelt before him and said, "Lord, help me." He replied, "It is not good to take the children's bread and toss it to dogs." She said, "Yes, Lord, but even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Jesus answered, "Woman, you have great faith. It will be just as you wish." And right then her daughter was healed. And so this is the second time that Jesus withdraws from the Galilee, where he begins his ministry, kind of his home base, and he goes to Sidon and to Tyre, which are to the north. It's probably in kind of modern day Lebanon. And so this woman is obviously a Gentile. She is not of Jewish origin, but we can see that she's at least heard about Jesus because of the way that she addresses him. She addresses him as the Son of David and also as Lord. And so while she's a Gentile woman, she obviously knows a little bit about Jesus and who he is, and that she obviously expects that Jesus can actually heal her daughter. And so she shows this sign of great faith. But for us, it also kind of makes us a little uncomfortable because Jesus first ignores her. Then after his disciples keep pressing her, saying, "This woman's not going away. She's still calling after us." He says that I've only been sent to the lost sheep, to the people of Israel. And so this kind of makes us uncomfortable to know that at one point Jesus is not willing or not wanting to go to somebody that is outside the church, that's a Gentile, that he's only come to a certain group of people. And we know that that's kind of uncomfortable because we think that God came for all people, that Jesus came for everyone and to save everyone. But at this part in his mission and ministry, that outreach to the Gentile world has not happened. It happens later. But at this point, we kind of get this uncomfortable thing where Jesus is saying some words we're not used to hearing, or we don't think that, why would Jesus say that? But we just know that that's not yet come. It's going to be coming because we have the whole story. But he doesn't leave her her request undone. He actually, after seeing her faith, after she talks about how even the dogs eat the crumbs from their master's table, he just says with a word that you are going to have what you wish and that your daughter is going to be healed. And so it's a kind of interesting part that, we don't really hear much. You don't really teach much about Jesus kind of ignoring somebody's request, because you see all kinds of people coming up to Jesus and with sick people and all kinds of people that need to be healed. And Jesus is just healing people all over the place. But here he refuses to, and he actually kind of ignores her. And it's only after the lady insists that he actually does it. So we kind of have two different kind of passages here where Jesus is kind of standing up to the Pharisees and the kind of religious rulers of the day, but then also kind of has somebody stand up to him. This Canaanite woman, this Gentile woman, kind of stands up to him and still gets what she wants, even though Jesus says no originally. So this is what we're going to cover today. We only had time for these two parts. There's a couple other sections or passages of Scripture that you can do for some homework, for some extra reading. There's a small passage about Jesus doing some more healings, then also Jesus feeding the 4,000. So this is different from the feeding of the 5,000. And if you want to compare and contrast those, that actually happened last chapter. So that's chapter 14, verses 13 through 21. You can look for some similarities and also some differences between those two kind of feeding miracles. But I do want to thank you for joining us today. I hope that you found this time. We spent a little bit of time in the Bible as a useful way to kind of feed your spirit for this week. So please, as you get ready to close out this video, please like it. Please share it either on YouTube or on Facebook. That helps the algorithms make it show up into other people's news feeds. Maybe they don't know about it. Maybe it's something that somebody needs to hear today. So I encourage you to do that. It just helps the video out and get to reach more people. But my friends, thank you again for joining us for this time. And I hope to see you next time. And have a great day. Goodbye.